Before diving in, if you are a regular watcher, please consider subscribing for $5 a month on locals.com. All videos go up on that platform as well, ad-free, and also in raw audio podcast form, with the goal of making that a more stable source of income for the channel. YouTube has been doing really strange and suspect things with their demonetization and their algorithm lately. So again, if you enjoy the content at all, please consider locals for various different rewards, such as merchandise discounts and alternate formats. Microsoft is taking over the console war, and it's happening swifter than I honestly expected. A few weeks ago, I did a video on that exact premise, how Microsoft was positioning itself to transcend the current definition of what the console war even is, while also expanding to an entirely different medium as one of its main priorities. Sony, while undoubtedly doing what works for them, which is making a new console, selling new exclusive games for it, rinse and repeat over and over, is not expanding in the same ways, and today the power discrepancy between these two companies becomes glaringly obvious. There are three different major points that I want to go over here. Balance sheets, which is boring, I know, but it'll be fast. Partnerships, and now acquisitions. To start with, Microsoft is not comparable to Sony in any other sense of the word than the fact that it produces a console and some games. These two tech giants are not actually peer equals. One is far more powerful than the other. Microsoft, without question, does place a decent amount of emphasis on their gaming division, but that is just one aspect of the company. Looking at the main profit centers for Microsoft, gaming doesn't even really show up here. The core business model revolves around intelligent cloud services, personal computing solutions, and productivity/business processes. These include things like the Microsoft Office software suite or sites like LinkedIn. There are things like Microsoft Azure, and gaming does fall under the category of personal computing solutions, but it's part of a much larger list, a list that includes the literal base Windows operating system. All of this is to say that Microsoft is not really a gaming company, it's a tech behemoth, and Sony is not even comparable. Many video game enthusiasts don't accurately evaluate this relationship here. I have seen PlayStation and Xbox fans try to characterize the console war as some sort of even fight, when in reality, Microsoft is like Goliath and Sony is David, but he doesn't even have a sling. At this point, I'd like to read a quick segment from Microsoft Financials, June 25th, 2020. On a trailing 12-month basis, free cash flow totaled $43.4 billion. Microsoft's balance sheet is naturally cash-rich, with $71 billion in net cash. It distributes about a third of its free cash flow to shareholders through dividends, with the stock yielding 1% as of this writing. This matters later on, so keep that part in mind. Microsoft has free cash flow of over $40 billion and net cash on hand over $70 billion as of June this year. Now on to partnerships. In my recent video, I discussed the benefits of Game Pass, a game-on-demand monthly subscription model from Microsoft that is becoming one of their primary targets. There is a somewhat equivalent subscription model from Sony, but to be completely honest here, it doesn't have any sort of comparable traction. Game Pass provides significant customer value, and that value is increasing at a significant rate. The best partnership example here is the recent collaboration between EA, Electronic Arts, and Microsoft to put EA Access games on the Game Pass service with no additional charge. Now, I know, EA sucks. They suck really bad, but their sports franchises are massively popular, and that doesn't appear to be changing anytime soon. EA Access, with no additional cost, by the way, will bring multiple sports franchise games, the Battlefield series, some decent RPGs from BioWare back in the day, and a number of other installments that Game Pass and its users undoubtedly benefit from, which bolster the already exceptional value of the service. But that's not all. Looking back at the relationship between Microsoft and Sony, we can see that during May of 2019, the two competitors actually partnered up themselves in an agreement which would allow Sony to use Microsoft's Azure cloud service and data centers to develop their own subscription service. Yes, Sony is literally building its own competing service on the infrastructure owned and operated by Microsoft. This is no actual rivalry. This is not an actual competition. This is a one-sided corporate seesaw that doesn't even go back and forth. But still, we haven't even made it to the big ticket item for today. Moving on to acquisitions, we can see that this very day, September 21st, 2020, it has been announced that Microsoft fully acquired Zenimax Media. Zenimax Media owns a number of game developers, such as Arcane Studios, id Software, and Bethesda. This move was announced as a full-scale acquisition for $7.5 billion. And if we recall the financials for Microsoft, it should be kind of coming into perspective here just how monumental the move is and how insignificant it is to Microsoft as a whole. Microsoft had cash on hand of over 70 billion, with free flow cash of over 40 billion. About 1/3 of its free flow cash gets distributed to shareholder dividends, but they could execute this purchase nearly 10 times over with just their cash on hand. They could, by these metrics, acquire another 3 to 5 major gaming development companies at an equal or even higher price and not even truly feel any sort of burn. Microsoft is sitting on the capabilities of a tech overlord, while Sony simply cannot compete with that acquisition and bargaining power. Now, the biggest question looming on everyone's mind, obviously, is what about exclusives? With Bethesda now under the ownership of Microsoft, does that mean that Elder Scrolls 6 will become a leverage tool to sell more consoles as they launch the newest generation? And the answer, in my opinion, is almost certainly not. Recently, Bethesda had been working closely with Sony on 2 exclusive games, Deathloop and Ghostwire, which Phil Spencer, Executive Vice President of Gaming at Microsoft, acknowledged would remain exclusive to Sony, honoring the previous agreement between the two companies. This does not guarantee that all future Bethesda games will also come to PlayStation, but quoted as saying, "We will take other consoles on a case-by-case basis," Phil Spencer seems to be keeping the door open deliberately to the option of non-exclusivity. I am personally not a fan of exclusivity in general. When Epic Games does it, definitely not a fan. When Sony does it, I get it. I do understand it's a different case, but still not a fan. And if Microsoft were to acquire Bethesda and then make one of the most highly anticipated games ever an exclusive, right in the face of the massive audience that is eagerly awaiting its release on multiple platforms, well, let's just say I would certainly not be a fan, and it would squander a lot of the goodwill that Microsoft has been able to cultivate recently. That being said, the reactions here have been priceless. If you are a PlayStation fan who is upset or angry over the speculative prospect of Elder Scrolls 6 being exclusive, brace yourself, I'm about to make fun of you. Fans of PlayStation taunt and laugh when exclusives come to their platform. Example, Spider-Man in Marvel's Avengers. Spider-Man and his self-contained story arc were announced as an exclusive for the PlayStation console, and the excitement, jubilation, and glee from certain PlayStation fans became palpable. This was an anti-consumer move by Sony. Pay for exclusive or timed exclusive access that would only be enjoyed by their own audience, which effectively cuts off what would have been a larger player base from the experience. I dislike this mentality and this business tactic. It's effective, it absolutely is, but it's not predicated on building value for customers. It's predicated on destroying value for other customers. That being said, those who absolutely rejoiced in the misery of Spider-Man fans, who happen to also play on Xbox, they are now screeching to high heaven because Elder Scrolls 6 better not be an Xbox exclusive. You deserve this. Not the exclusivity, no, not that, which probably won't happen, by the way, but the emotional state of being upset because of that slim chance it might happen. You deserve this for thinking that the Spider-Man story arc being exclusive is a good thing, and laughing at those who were saddened by it. And you deserve this for fundamentally misunderstanding why exclusive content is good for absolutely no one, except for the publisher. Elder Scrolls 6 will probably be on all platforms, but if not, then it would just be a competitive and proportional response by Microsoft to the age-old and commonplace tactic of pumping out exclusive titles to sell the platform. To be clear, again, from a personal perspective, I am not a fan of exclusive content on any platform. Bring it to as wide an audience as possible. That's my take. Microsoft choosing to honor the existing exclusivity deals that were in place between Bethesda and Sony indicates to me that they are not in this to destroy customer value and goodwill, which would, by proxy, suggest that they will not leverage Elder Scrolls 6 against PlayStation fans. However, the idea that this time exclusivity is wrong, just this time, and simply because you might be on the receiving end, well, that's obviously a very shallow perspective, and a lot of people are outing themselves on social media right now as they lament that possibility. Basically, Microsoft cannot be compared to Sony in any reasonable way outside of the fact that they both exist in the gaming space and make a console. Microsoft has more resources, more partnerships, more money, and more power. They literally allow Sony to use their infrastructure in order to expand their own subscription service, PlayStation Now. And they can buy out a major player in the space with a fraction of their cash on hand. And one last financial note here. Sony currently, as of 2020, at the highest level they have ever been, has $5 billion cash on hand, which is not even high enough to execute the Zenimax purchase even once, while Microsoft can do it 10 times over. Sony has already acknowledged that they will be a frontrunner in the AAA price hike that's coming with this generation. The idea of games moving from $60 to $70 is not a popular concept, and it will push certain players away, definitively. Microsoft has the resources and the position to capitalize on that with their Game Pass initiative, and acquiring Zenimax, as well as an EA partnership where all EA Access titles move to Game Pass free of charge, that just sets them up even better. There is a slight bit of concern I've seen that because of the price tag on this ZeniMax acquisition, there will be monetization tactics passed down to the end users, but honestly, I really do not share this concern. Reversing the customer value approach now that Microsoft has settled into over the past few years, that probably wouldn't play well at all. And since they are in a cash position where the purchase barely even registers, there is no actual reason to do that. We are watching in real time Microsoft start to actually compete here. Up till now, they've been holding back, and if they really choose to do this, if they put everything they have behind it, if they choose to go all in with even just 1 year of cash flow reserves, we could see 3 or 4 other major studios fall into their portfolio without issue. All in all, Microsoft is kind of like a jet engine right now that is clearly picking up speed. Sony has been plodding along with what works for them, and admittedly, it works very well and has for many years, but they've been doing it year after year after year, with minor changes, if that. But that doesn't seem to be a lasting reality in the industry now. It remains to be seen, it definitely does, but Microsoft has begun to make major power moves, and ultimately I believe it will be beneficial to the player base. It really will. At the very least to PC players as they expand from a focus on just the console to the console and the PC. But that's it. If you want to support, links down below, merch, locals, social media, and another gaming YouTuber to check out, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.